Welcome to this explainer. You know, the average adult makes something like 35,000 remotely conscious decisions every single day. Crazy, right? Well, if you're a focused learner looking to sharpen your professional edge, you are absolutely in the right place. Today, we're going to transform theoretical management concepts into a super practical toolkit for your daily corporate workflows. We are looking at the ultimate guide to problem solving and decision making. We're going to break down the science of making the right call precisely when the pressure's on and show you exactly how to structure your thinking to lead your team to success.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Today we're covering management versus leadership, the types of administrative decisions, the 5 decision-making stages, diagnosing problems with Ishikawa and Pareto, generating solutions through brainstorming, and finally, evaluating those alternatives using the 6 hats.
Section 1. Management versus leadership.
It is absolutely crucial we start right here. Why? Because decision-making isn't just about cold, hard logic. It fundamentally involves human emotions, managing reactions, and guiding real people through change. Now, classical management theory, it kind of assumes a perfect world. It assumes you can just follow a step-by-step logical structure, gather all the facts, and perfectly maximize quantitative profit without any friction whatsoever. But let's be real. True leadership is required because we never actually operate in a perfect world. Time is always limited, and you rarely have perfect information. Leadership focuses on influencing people and navigating human nature to actually execute a decision. You could literally make the absolute best, most logical choice sitting all alone in your office, but if you don't have the leadership chops to communicate it and get buy-in from the people affected by it, that decision will fail for sure.
Moving on to Section 2. Types of administrative decisions.
Look, a truly great leader knows that not all problems are created equal. A real strategist categorizes issues to avoid wasting precious cognitive energy. Think about it. You definitely shouldn't be burning 3 hours debating which coffee brand to buy for the break room when you have a massive corporate strategy to figure out. So on one hand, we have traditional or executive decisions. These are routine, tactical problems like handling attendance or daily operational hiccups. You can rely on past experience and standard procedures to solve these instantly. Seriously, do not overthink them. Because, on the other hand, we have non-traditional or strategic decisions. These are vital, multidimensional, and often highly complex crises or corporate strategy shifts. You need to save your critical brain power, your deep research time, and your team's creative energy for these non-traditional decisions.
Section 3. The 5 decision-making stages. Let's move to and see how this builds. This is our core framework, basically the overarching map for everything we do. It breaks down into 5 chronological steps. Step 1 is diagnosing the true problem, not just the superficial symptoms. Step 2 is collecting relevant data and information to understand the full scope of what you're dealing with. Step 3 is determining available alternatives, basically casting a wide net for possible solutions. Step 4 is rigorously choosing the appropriate alternative. And Step 5, and honestly this is where so many managers drop the ball, is to follow up and evaluate. Skipping stages, particularly failing to follow up and measure the real-world results of your decision, inevitably leads to poor execution and just repeating the same mistakes over and over.
Section 4. Diagnosing with Ishikawa and Pareto.
Let's really zoom in on that critical first stage we just talked about, diagnosing the problem properly. First up is the Ishikawa diagram, often called the fishbone diagram, pioneered by Dr. Kaoru Ishikawa. The head of the fish represents your specific problem, the actual effect you're seeing, and the bones branch out to categorize the underlying root causes. We're talking things like manpower, methods, or materials. By gathering your team and repeatedly asking the question, why, for each bone, you build this whole thing out. It completely prevents teams from merely treating superficial symptoms and forces you to stare directly at the actual root cause.
And this brilliantly illustrates our second diagnostic tool, the 80-20 rule, or the Pareto principle, initially observed by economist Vilfredo Pareto and applied to quality management by Joseph Juran. This principle visually shows that in almost any situation, an overwhelming 80% of your problems stem from just 20% of your causes. To put that into perspective, think about software. 80% of software crashes are usually caused by just 20% of the bugs.
That is exactly why Juran called that 20% the vital few. Think about why this actually matters to you as a busy professional. You simply do not have the time or resources to fix every single tiny issue in your department. But if you use your diagnostic tools to accurately target that crucial 20%, those vital few causes, you save immense amounts of time, you cut unnecessary costs, and you drastically improve the overall quality of your output. Focus your energy where it yields exponential returns.
Section 5. Generating solutions through brainstorming.
Now that the root cause is successfully found and isolated, it's time to inject some major creative energy into the room. So the crucial point here is that during initial idea generation, quantity is actually far more important than quality. When you're leading a brainstorming session, you absolutely must defer judgment and eliminate all criticism. If an employee is sitting there terrified of being mocked, they're going to self-censor. You need to actively welcome wild, unusual ideas and encourage everyone in the room to build upon and develop the ideas of others. The goal is to generate a massive pool of potential alternatives before you apply any logical filters whatsoever.
Which brings us to Section 6, Evaluating Alternatives with the 6 Hats.
All right, so once you have that massive list of brainstormed ideas, you've got to rigorously evaluate them without bias. Now, what's really interesting about this framework, Edward de Bono's famous 6 thinking hats, is how it brilliantly turns subjective arguing into a collaborative game. Instead of people just arguing from their entrenched personalities, you force the entire team to systematically wear these different metaphorical hats one at a time. So when the team puts on the white hat, everyone only discusses facts and data, period. Then you switch to the red hat, and everyone is allowed to express their raw emotions and intuition without needing to justify a single thing. The black hat? That forces everyone to be cautious and hunt for risks. The yellow hat makes everyone look for the positive benefits. The green hat is all about creativity and growth. And finally, the blue hat is worn by the leader to control the whole process. This method is a total game changer because it eliminates ego and ensures a complete 360-degree evaluation of any proposed solution.
As we wrap up our framework today, I want you to keep this quote in the back of your mind. A problem well defined is a problem half solved. Applying these specific mental tools, from recognizing the difference between managing and leading, to isolating those vital few causes with the fishbone and Pareto principles, all the way to evaluating ideas with the 6 hats, all of this literally transforms workplace chaos into manageable, highly executable strategies.
So, what does this all mean for us? Well, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. You now have the ultimate strategist's toolkit. You know the exact stages and you know the common pitfalls. So, are you ready to step up, strip away the noise, and make the hard choices to transform your team's next big challenge? Take these tools, apply them to your daily workflow, and just watch your decision-making entirely transform. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.